I'll say like my personal values are kind of the don't tread on me, and so oversight is a negative thing. The problem with this kind of is a whole separate topic, but like when you already have an existing government structure, especially one like we have in the US where there is so much oversight already, and then not adding more oversight can sometimes be actually counterintuitive to my stance, but like in some cases it is necessary. And you know, TikTok and Instagram, they have their own uh, interest in what they ban, why they ban things, and so it may not always be in the interest of the consumer. So I do want to switch gears a little bit and talk about actually creating ads like this one, where it's organic hidden in an ad hidden in an organic. It's an immersive experience. People get lost in it. It could be 30-second ad, but just like you were saying, in a movie, when it's truly done right, you don't know you're watching a movie. You're in there. You're experiencing that. So how do we help other marketers? How do we help our fellow marketers create ads that appear to be organic content?
That's this doesn't answer your question directly, but I wouldn't be here talking to you if I was so um if I made it obvious that the stuff I ran was ads. My most successful campaigns ever, it could say advertisement at the top. Like, let's say it's an advertorial. It might say advertorial really small at the very top, but some people would see that, most wouldn't, and they'd go through and it's just like another article or something. The best advertising is when people don't know it's advertising. Like we said, there was who was that one guy? He was a right wing dude. He wasn't Rush Limbaugh, but he was an older guy. He doesn't have a show anymore. I forget his name. Oh man, he's really popular too. He was really really popular.
Maybe Glenn Beck,
Yeah, but he doesn't. No, he's older than Glenn Beck, and again,
Bill O'Reilly.
Bill O'Reilly. Bill O'Reilly. So I remember my father-in-law again. My father-in-law, he's my avatar for the Trump supporter, the Southern Trump supporter. And he sent me this email. He's like, "Hey, I want you to take a look at this. I'm thinking about investing in this." And it was Bill O'Reilly interviewing this guy. And it was like a podcast, like podcast slash interview. But if you really paid attention to what was happening, this was an advertisement. This was an infomercial disguised as an interview, and it done so good that my father-in-law wanted me to watch it to see if I need to invest in it as well. And I told my father-in-law at the time, this is what I do. Things like this. This is an advertisement. It's an infomercial disguised. This is happening. Larry King did it. You'll not, you've heard about this. People will have these podcasts now. These podcasts, it looks like it's a podcast. Really, it's a video sales letter. It's an infomercial. And so you're coming after Grace for what she's doing here, but this shit's happening all over the world. It's happening at higher levels than Grace, and it's negatively impacting a lot of people. And in some ways, I'm sure it's positively impacting. But somebody might have spent, I don't know, $50 to $100, $200 on some clothing and whatever. Here, you'll have somebody who'll spend their whole life savings on gold from some infomercial that they watched. And so this is how it is. Does it need to be regulated? Yeah, that's why the ASA is around. But I guess going back to the specific thing, I think that I know this wasn't the question you asked me, but I think Grace in the landscape of all this shit happening is a very small fish in a massive pond. Now, to your question, how do we do this? It's very contextual and depends on what you do. In my case, let's say it's a seasoning business. It's in the form of writing. One effective way to do this is an advertorial. It's an advertorial. Well, it looks like an article, right? It looks like a regular article, but it's really an advertisement. And you'll see this in native advertising, whether you're going through Yahoo or Fox News or MSN. You'll be scrolling, and then there's an ad. It looks like everything else. It might have sponsored and really small, but it looks like everything else. And really, that's an advertorial. You click on it, and they read it, and they think that they're reading an article, but really, it's an ad. That's a very basic one, but it's still effective when well written. That's one way. What's another way that you think could be effective for people?
Well, I'll answer that in a second. I want to come back to what you were talking about with Bill O'Reilly and even the advertorials. The advertorial language was not required until at some point it became required because people were taking advantage of this. I think it comes back to the argument we're having at the beginning is people need to, same with Bill O'Reilly, but people need to know. I think people need to know. And again, you're right. This is small fish that they did with Grace. They should do this across the board as much as possible. But there's some decision the society made that we now need to label advertorials as such. We should label these influencer promotions as such. We need to label the interviews disguised, advertisements disguised as interviews as such because of exactly the case that you mentioned with your father-in-law. I bet if he knew it was an advertisement, he would look at it differently. And yes, it would hurt. It would not make the advertisement as effective. I agree, certainly. And like from a marketer's perspective, it's like give us all the leash that exists, but is that really the best thing? In my opinion, not. Now, in terms of whether or not you have to label your advertisement as such, you should still try to make it seem like it's not an ad. So what can you do? I looked up Grace's posts that were banned, by the way. And what did she do? What's that?
I said nice. I haven't seen them. Go ahead, please finish.
Yeah, so I'll just describe it for the audience. So one of these ads starts with something we've heard all the time. I've seen this all the time. Give me less than a minute to tell you why this is the best coat the world has ever seen. Great headline. Hits many of the check boxes. It's only going to take less than a minute. It's the best coat the world has ever seen. A little bit hyperbolic, and it's just her wearing the coat. Okay, and she's got this bleach blonde hair. So presumably attention is drawn. That doesn't seem like an aggressive headline or anything. Yes, it's a little bit hyperbolic, but it's not saying this coat will, it's not making any claims yet. Okay, as far as I can tell in this ad that aren't real. But this format is exactly what people do on TikTok. Right? It's just the same exact format that when people make content, when they're trying to entertain their audience, they make a certain style of content. This seems exactly like that content. So you, as a marketer, whatever your platform is, whether it's TikTok or blogs or Google search even, you need to find out what are the top ranking videos in your industry or search results, organic search results, whatever you can, YouTube videos. What is the format of that platform and create your ad in that format. Stop creating your ad the old school way of here's my product. I'm demonstrating like this is a QVC ad. No, it has to be in the style that the viral things are already happening in.
That is really good advice. What you're talking about, I've talked to you about this. The other business, we work with a bunch of home service contractors, and putting out if we put out content the way the normal home service contractor puts out, it would poop the bed. Nobody's going to stop and watch that. Nobody cares about your plumbing business, your van, your values. That's the same old shit, right? Same old. But to your point, what's popular on there'll be some, like, let's say it's TikTok. There'll be some sort of meme or something that's trending. It might even be like you've seen the guy, the Middle Eastern guy. It's like, you brother, what is that? You brother, like that meme or whatever. Have you seen that? Like, so you take things like that, and then you interject you put in your business, right? And you could say, when you hire the cheapest plumber you can find, ew, brother. Like, like whatever, like you can just take, like to Dimitri's point, there's things that are trending, there's waves that are happening. So how can you take that and put in your product and ride those waves as opposed to the traditional commercial?